Hello, I'm Shraddha, and this recording is specifically done to show how to pass the value on the click of a table and how to generate the chart. So we fetch the value on click, on select of the data from the table, and we are trying to show the chart restricted onto the value selected, and also I was trying to see if I can restrict it onto the table. So that was what has been done in this session. Okay, so this is a table, and if I click on alcohol, this restriction gets passed onto the two charts, and the chart is restricted on the gross margin. So this one is restricted only on the gross margin, and this chart I have taken one more measure just to see if it works. And this table is also the one which I was trying out if it is possible to pass and create a table also with the on select on of the data. So these two chart and the table are not there. It has been generated on runtime. Okay. So now if I select the carbonated drink, these values gets changed and the restriction gets changed on the carbonated drink, including the table. So for juices, this one more we can check. So this has been restricted to juices, and even the other chart, the product is on juices, and similarly the table too. So let's switch on to the edit to see the code. So I will enable this panel and also this panel. Okay. So the same, I have created a story based on a canvas, uh, and what I have used here is I have used a panel. So inside as a container, so inside a panel, I have added a table. Okay. So similarly, these ones, the table chart one, chart two, if you see, the widgets has been added, but it has been disabled. So you need to have a placeholder where I can add the dimensions and measures on the runtime. So if I will unhide them. So let's go to the page. So let's close this. So if I unhide them, you can see that this has been added into the panel like this. But if you see, there is nothing which has been restricted to them. Um, so I will come to this part why we have these measures restricted. But for chart, if you see, there is nothing restricted. Yeah. So the restrictions on the dimension and the measures will happen on runtime as on which depends upon what user will select on the data of the table one. Okay, so table one is this, table two is the last table, chart one and chart two are these two. So I will set it back to hide and only keep the one which we need to show as a first display of the story. All right, so now comes the scripting part. So will go into the on select. So all the logic is in the on select of the table one. So I have taken a variable as SEL select. So this variable will take the array of what value or the content or the row has been selected from the table one on select. Yeah, that's what the script mean. I will get that information in the select. Console.log is used to see how what are the values being. It is generally used for debugging. So if you want to see what value has been populated into that variable, then you have to display it through console.log so you can see it while you debug, and it is very helpful to get the information on the dimensions, or say for example, if you want to see what are the dimensions, the technical name of the dimensions which you will need in scripting, or the measures, or even the model name. All this can be seen through the console.log. So how to use it, I will show that once we run the report. So the next one is chart one. So I have set the chart one to a model because it needs a source. So the model is the best run juice sample model, which was of SAP. I'm doing this on the trial version of SAP. So I have used the existing model which they have created, and the next is after that, after the model is data source is set, what we do for chart, we add a rows, that is dimension. So I have added product and location dimension. These technical names, as I said, you will get it in the console.log. So if you do display the this dimension and the measures, you will get the name of the technical name of the dimensions and also the model and the measures. So that you will have to save it from the console.log and use it. How to do it? You have to put the get data source dot get dimensions here and get measures, and you will have to display that into the console.log, and that is where you will get the information of the model and the technical name of the dimensions and the measures. So I have done that, then I commented it because it is not no longer needed to me in the coding. So I have used that information to restrict add the dimensions onto there. So we added a data source, I have added two dimensions, location and product, and now the we have to add it the measure. So if you see in the dimension, the syntax is you have to restrict onto the dimension name, which dimension you need to restrict, and it comes as feed dot category access. So for dimension you use the feed dot category access, and this last variable, which is an integer, is actually a position in which you need to show. So if you don't give any position, it will take it as the end as by default, but if you have more than one, then it's better you give the positioning of the dimensions. Then you have to add the measure. So add measure is deprecated, so you can't use it. So instead you have to use add member. In add member, it is reverse of add dimension, the syntax. You have to give the feed dot value access, that is the access for your measure, and then you give the name of the measure like this. So how you get these names of the measure is you take, say for example, here I remove this, and you take the get dimension properties and you do control. Yeah, see if you do, so what I did, I just removed this variable which was here, and then I just enter control space, and then you can see all these names right from here. So now if I want to restrict on the measure, it is under the account. So I take this, then I will again do control, then I take the account. So it is start. So this is what you get. So I will remove this. This is not correct. Let me put this back to how it was. Cell. Okay. And here the same. If you do this one, I will show how I get that name. How I got that name is like this. So you take this, then you do. Sorry. You now know that you need to have this value because it is under this. So you take this, and then you do control space. What I did, I entered control space. Then you get the measure. Now here I will get select any measure which you want to restrict. Say OK. So it will automatically add. And then you just close it and semicolon. That's it. That is how you have to do. That is how you restrict the value. Okay. So you double quote, delete, end with the quote, and done. Yeah. And okay. So this is the way you give the value access, that is the measure for the chart. Next is you then set the dimension filter. So now as this is an array, the select variable, you pass the set dimension filter as an array for SEL, and then you have to pass this value. Okay. So this you have set the dimension for the chart. So now you have added this dimension, but you need to set the filter also because the selected value has to be filtered as well onto the chart. So you added dimension, but not didn't filter here. So you have to set the filter here, and then you make chart visible as true. Same thing I did it for chart 2. Set the model, then add the dimension on the category axis. Then you set the filter of the product on that dimension. Then you add, I have added two measures in this case. So one is this, and the second one, if you see, I have not given any position. That means it will be shown after the gross margin at the end. Now the next one is I just took I wanted to see the values of the chart to what all dimensions are getting restricted. That's why I just added it into a variable and did the console.log to see the values of those variables. And then again I set the chart to dot visible as true. So if you don't want this is just for debugging, but you can comment it out and or remove it after you have understood or finished your coding, or comment it out and put some comments so that next time if you want to debug it is easy to reuse. The next one is table. For the table restriction, I have set the table model like this. Same, I have given the data source. Then I have added the dimension to rows. So for table, if you see the functions are different. So what you can do is you can just add table underscore to dot, and then if you enter control and space, you see all the functions which are available for the table two or the tables. Okay. From that, I used add dimension to rows and I have added product. Now the challenge I was facing for long was how to restrict the measure on the table two, because if I was restricting the measure directly, like set the, I was not able to understand how to restrict it. So after a lot of R&D, I could get to a level where I could see how I would do it. So the till dimension filter, it is correct. So I was easy because it is same as what it was for the chart. But for the measure is under, as it is a planning model, the measure is under the account dimension. So now, if I do the dimension filter, I was not able to understand how to pass this value, but this is a syntax. So you pass this in the set dimension filter, you pass this dimension, and then also you pass that measure under that dimension. So if you are using a planning model, you have to do this because measures will be under the account dimension. But if you are not using a planning model, if you are using a new model, which will have all the measures as measures and not under any dimension, then I think you don't need to do all this. You can directly set the measure. But in this case, as the measure was under account dimension, I have to use the syntax. And then again set it to visible true. Now here the challenge was, I will just run this report to show you how it works. I'm not saving anything because it was just to show. So it is running on the previous code, whatever we had. So now here, as you see, so you use Chrome, okay? Or you can use Edge also, but Chrome, my personal favorite is Chrome. So now control if you do function F12, it should open the debugging. So it is better to use Chrome. Okay. So story. Don't know why it is going not coming. Okay, story. I will use it from here. Now click if you click on the function F12, it will open the debugging, right? So now if you see it has loaded till here. Now if I click, you will see the variable, right? So for first, if you remember the first variable, it was for the select. So if I go to the code, the first log console.log was for the value which was selected. So that is the details which it is giving here. PC4 is the, as it is a hierarchy, it's saying PC4. The value which has been restricted is alcohol. So next one is, this is the value which is getting restricted for the values which has been restricted as gross margin and sales. So the second variable, if you see, was for the one which I wanted to see what has been restricted. So I just got the dimensions on the category axis. which was a product, and then I just got the measures. So the measures were two. So if you see, the measures are being shown 0 and 1 like this. So the measures is in the V file. It is giving me the value access, category access is dimension, value access are the measure. So if you go back to this, if you see, the measures are the two measures which has been restricted, which has been shown here. Okay. So next one is on the, so in case if you don't know, right, how, what is the syntax or of the measures or what you have to do, you do a simple, create a simple chart and you read the measures like this. And in the console log, you will anyways come to know what is the values of those measures here. Because when you do, so this is also a way to find out instead of control space to get the total end-to-end value of the measures, what has been, what should be used for restricting. And once you know, then you can redo your code and then remove the restrictions, and then you can comment or remove the console and then you add your code accordingly. Okay. That is one more way of finding out the technical name of the measures through the debugging. So next is I have set the visible to true. So this is how you use the console. And now the last one is of the table. So there is no other variable other than this. So this is the last variable which is there. So that has been ended. So how do you do the code debugging? You come to the story output, function F12. You get the screen. Go to the console. And whenever you do any of the clicks, it will start populating the values. Now I have done the carbonated drink, clicked on the carbonated drink, it is refreshing, and if you see here the values has will change. So instead of PC4, the value must be changed now to PC1. Okay, even the second variable is getting populated because every time whenever you do any click, the code of on select will get executed, which will again display both the measures. Now the question, now the main part, the challenge where which I was facing was how to restrict the table with those these measures because it is under the account dimension. So now the issue which I was facing was if I go to the page and I will enable the table too specifically. Now here if you see the reason I have added all the measures is I will enable this builder. Hmm. If I remove all the measures, right? I'll just show once. Delete all the measures, remove, removed. So if you see, it is showing some number. Okay. Now I will again hide it. This is what it is, but there is no label of the measure. I will hide it again after removing it and I will save it. Okay. Now if you run this report, see the table, the header of the measure will be gone. I have not done any change in the code. It is just the setting of the table which I have changed. Now if I click on the juices, let's go to the table. Now you see it is showing me the measure of the original price for the juicer 737.19, but there is no header. Without header, how the user will know which measure are you are being shown? We are showing because there is no description anywhere. So this was a bug which I was trying to figure out for long, like how do we get the headers? So not after that, after doing a lot of research, what is trial and error methods like R&D, I realized that if I add, so what I did is a workaround, but if you know anything better, then please let me also know anything, any smarter way of doing it other than this. I just added the account dimension which has all the measures as a default, which has a gross margin. I will remove this filter because I can restrict to any measure, right? So I just added all the members of the account and then I will hide it and then I saved it. And now if you run the report, it will anyways do the restriction. So in the code, if you see, I will show you the code. What I have done is I have by default I have restricted all measures. So what I do in the code as a workaround is I remove the whole dimension filter which is of that measure, and then I set the dimension filter again, and then I set the dimension filter to the value which I want to restrict. So I have to remove because I have added all those value measures already. So I will have to clear that, and then I have set it onto the original price where I wanted only one measure to be shown, and then visibility is true. Okay, and now if I do like this, I am able to get back the header. That means I have to select by default all the measures or the account dimension, and then I have to adjust the code to clean the restriction of all the measures, and then set to the measure which I want to. Then juices, see juices, and you get the header back, and you have the value correctly shown 737.19. That's it. Thank you. So if you also know any better way of achieving this, please let me know. Thanks a lot.